Hello, Ed Murphy here from GreenTechHQ and in Enniscorthy. It's an innovation hub set up to bring together entrepreneurs, investors, corporates and community in order to come up with solutions to the effects of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. I have here today with me David Clerkin, who's a senior engineer with BD in Enniscorthy. David, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. David, tell me maybe for viewers, tell me what is BD in Enniscorthy and who is BD in Enniscorthy?
So BD, we're on site in Enniscorthy 26 years. We started as Clearstream Technologies, and a lot of people in the town will probably refer to us still as Clearstream Technologies. And that was started up by 5 individuals back in 1999 as an indigenous company developing coronary devices to basically unblock arteries in the heart.
Wow.
We kind of developed into a peripheral space then, which is arteries outside the heart. When the coronary market started getting very competitive, and with that we got acquired in 2011 by a large multinational called CR Bard, and then that moved on to 2018. Even a larger multinational called BD acquired CR Bard. So we've seen a lot of change on the site in Enniscorthy, and we make some really, really innovative devices. And our space is all around peripheral artery disease, and typically from the belly button down, arteries that get blocked. We make devices that allow access into those arteries, unblocking those arteries. And one of our devices that we make it gets drug coated in the United States, and that's a drug coated balloon. That's probably one of the biggest devices, most successful devices we make in Enniscorthy. And so on site in Enniscorthy we have 480 people working on site at the moment.
Wow.
And that's grown significantly over the last number of years with the different acquisitions. There's about 16 different types of products we make, from balloon angioplasty to AV fistula creating devices for dialysis patients, and probably our core specialty is manufacturing angioplasty balloons. So we make a vast range of balloons from 1.25 millimeters up to 12 millimeters, and from like 8 millimeters long up to 300 millimeters. So you got these 300 mil lesions that are in your leg, that our devices go in and unblock those arteries. So we're very, very proud of what we do in work, and every day we're advancing and changing people's lives through the devices that we make.
And David, it's just very interesting. The original 5 founders, obviously there was both capability, knowledge and science somewhere in those 5 people that they were able to go into a market like this. They just didn't come off the street in Enniscorthy and decide to set up such a company. How did that happen, or do you know? Maybe you're too young to know at this stage.
No, we know. It actually started with another multinational called Angiodynamics. They set up their European headquarters in an advanced factory in the IDA Park in Enniscorthy. And these 5 people worked for that company. And that company, through different challenges, decided to exit the market and leave Europe. And the 5 individuals came together and decided to buy out the technology and the people and the equipment, because they saw something in what was happening in the market, and with all the support from the local governments and local grant aids and stuff like that. That's how that company started, and went through some very, very difficult times in the early noughties, to where they nearly closed doors on multiple occasions. But the resilience and the fight and the innovative thinking of those founders and the employees, and a lot of them are still working with us in BD Enniscorthy, is why we are here today, and being so successful. And probably just to go one step further, we're in the middle of looking at an expansion. There's a 30 million expansion announced for BD Enniscorthy last year, and we're looking at starting that construction later this year. And that's going to bring more jobs and more innovative technologies to Enniscorthy. So we're hoping to bring a pharmaceutical side to our bow in Enniscorthy, where we'll be actually drug coating balloons in Enniscorthy in the near future.
Wow. And, I do know in organisations like BD that have factories all over the world, and obviously it's important that the factory in Enniscorthy is innovative, and if not, some of what it's could be doing could move to somewhere else in the world. So it's important that you keep your skills, you keep your people up to date, you keep your technologies up to date, and you keep research, innovation all going at this particular site. Obviously that's happening if you decided to do a 30 million euro investment here. Is that the case?
Yeah, and that's something that we put a lot of focus on. You ticked all the boxes there, and we know that there's other countries who can do what we do cheaper, and that's something that we're constantly fighting about, to let the decision makers in the business know that it's not just about product costs. There's so much more things that a site can offer, and we look at Ireland Inc. as one of the big things we look at, and that's the high skilled labour workforce we have in Ireland, the excellent educational system we have in Ireland, and plus also, if you look at the top 15 medical device companies in the world, 14 of the top 15 are in Ireland already. Incredible. So the skills are here, the knowledge is here. So there are some of the things that we look at. But more importantly, when we ever have any visitors on site, we sell the family, the business that we have in Enniscorthy and BD Enniscorthy, and most of the people who come visit our site, they all go away saying they get a sense of family, get a sense of passion from our people, and it's our people that make the devices, it's our people that make us successful, and we put a lot of effort into that.
No, it sounds a great. From the few times I've visited, a very family orientated and homely place to work and be. Tell me, from the point of view of sustainability, and let's call it ESG, it means different things to different people. What does sustainability mean in BD today or over the last while?
So if you'd mentioned sustainability to me and to a lot of people in Enniscorthy and BD Enniscorthy a number of years ago, we would have thought about climate change. That would have thought about solar panels and reducing energy, and that's kind of where we would have thought sustainability was. But we've come on a journey in Enniscorthy, and BD in 2020 came up with their 2030 strategy, and in that they looked at 5 pillars, and in that 5 pillars they looked at climate change, product impact, they looked at responsible supply chain, healthy workforce and healthy communities, and then transparency. And those 5 pillars are what Enniscorthy are focused on now. And there's a number of targets in each one of those that we have to set out a sustainability strategy for the next 10 years to try and hit our sustainability targets on site.
And how would a site go about meeting those targets in some of those 5 pillar areas?
Well, we looked at probably the easy one. We looked at first up was the climate change, because we are a high energy user on site. So we looked at all our energy sources and how could we do things more efficiently. So like some of the project we would have done is LED lighting. So we would have done all the low hanging fruit stuff in terms of more efficient pumps, more efficient lighting, more efficient air handling units. One of the targets we were set last year was by 2030 we have to reduce our greenhouse gases by 46% and reduce our energy by 25% in that 10-year period. And we're very, very pleased to actually say we've actually removed nearly 76% of our greenhouse gases in 2 years. We went straight for it, and BD corporate supported us on a lot of those initiatives, and we're very proud to say that's where we are. So we broke the back in our greenhouse gas emissions. In our energy reduction, we're probably about 15% of our 25% reduction, which was something we're very, very proud on. Other things we looked at was our products. How do our products impact patients and the global economy? So we looked at, okay, where do we make our products? So one of our products that we make, when we actually did a mileage check on it, there was about 10,000 miles on one product. So some of the decisions we're making within BD Corporate and BD Enniscorthy is to how do we take out a significant chunk of that. So we're in the middle of a transfer at the moment where we're going to actually reduce that down to about 2,000 or 3,000 miles. And if you think about it, we're making 50,000 of those every year. That's a significant reduction. But that's only one example, and there's a number of examples across our portfolio that we're looking at that. And even simple things about looking at Ireland Inc. again is how can we move maybe supplies from China, South Korea, different nations in Asia, and actually make them in Ireland. Yes, they may be slightly more expensive, but from a sustainability point of view, we have a shorter supply chain, faster supply chain, but also a more sustainable product. And then lastly, we would look at, okay, the end product going out the gate. How could we reduce packaging on that? How can we help the end user recycle those components? Because some of our products are biologically contaminated at the end of use because they're inside the body. So how can they be recycled more efficiently? And we will also look at maybe the sterilization cycle of some of our products. So a lot of our products will be ETO sterilized. How can we maybe move to a more sustainable source? Or how can we reduce the amount of ETO that we might use on a product? So a lot of stuff happening there around product stewardship. The other one then is responsible supply chains, which goes back right to the materials we use. And some of the materials we know are on warning lists in terms of they're going to go out of supply because for sustainability reasons, suppliers are saying they're not making it anymore. So we've got to look at those and make sure that when we're designing products and when we're manufacturing products that we try to eliminate those and replace those with more sustainable materials. And then the big one for me, which is the one that gets overlooked a lot, is the healthy community and the healthy workforce. Because if you don't have a healthy community, you don't have a healthy workforce, how can we make our products? So one of the things we were trying to work on a lot is, okay, how do we get our name out in the community as a sustainable place to work? And for me, sustainability is about how can we ensure that we have a business that is going to be here for the next generation. That I would love to see that the next generation that we have BD Enniscorthy is still there, creating innovative products with high skill jobs in a small community like Enniscorthy. To me, that's success. And we can only do that with a healthy community and healthy people.
Yeah, look at it. It's really, really interesting. And isn't it very interesting, David, that we talk about sustainability when you break it down and you look at it like you're doing it in terms of the different pillars. There's so much that companies can do, whether it's responsible supply chain or looking at climate change or looking at greenhouse gas emissions. There's so much that can be done. There's actually available information, advice, and products and services there to do that now. It can be done. We can do it. But the biggest problem I find, and I'm not sure what you think, is so many companies haven't even got started on this journey, this ESG journey.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it at the top level, it's a big word, sustainability. But I think when you break it down, but it is more manageable. But you need commitment, and you commitment from the top that we're going after this, because a lot of these technologies and a lot of these initiatives don't come for free. So, like for example, changing a product supply chain from a component from China to Longford, that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes bodies, takes commitment, takes money. So all of those things have to come together for sustainability to be actually truly achieved.
Yeah, and tell me, a solar and heat pump project that you guys have started on recently. How has that gone, or how big is that project?
So it's quite a large project. So we invested 1.5 million in that. Started this time last year. We just finished the project in June successfully. So that project was about 1,300 solar panels on the roof of the two buildings that we have in Enniscorthy. And the prime purpose of those solar panels was to provide energy for our heat pumps. And we've got 2 half-megawatt heat pumps, one for each building installed and actually running at the moment. And the idea of those heat pumps was to remove our number one scope 2 emission, which was burning of kerosene on site. So we have successfully removed the need to burn kerosene on site. So about 150,000 litres of kerosene we're burning every year. So now that has been totally removed with the introduction of these two heat pumps. And the solar panels on the roof generate enough electricity annually to run those heat pumps free of charge. So that was the kind of the story that we sold on it, was that we were going after this to remove the kerosene. When we looked at this first, it was very unattractive from an investment point of view.
Yeah.
When we approached BD on it, we did get some kickbacks on it because the return on investment wasn't there. But and this is where it comes back to commitment from the top in terms of sustainability. And over the years, through COVID and that, BD started to commit more to sustainability projects as they got more affordable. One of the things that won it for us was our relationship with the IDA here in Ireland. They came in with a green fund initiative, which would actually fund 30% of any large capital project like this. And we were the first company in Ireland actually to achieve that award last year.
Right.
And with that, the return on investment came down to 5 years, and it was a no-brainer at that stage. So we got the commitment. So through a bit of resilience, a bit of innovative thinking, and using the Ireland Inc. again in terms of the government supports and things like that, that's what got us over the line. And it's a very successful project and something we're very proud of.
Yeah, it should be. Congratulations. I think it's a fantastic thing to have done. And as you say, Enniscorthy being the first in Ireland to do that. So well done. In terms of other energy reduction projects that you've worked on, apart from the solar panels and heat pumps, what other things might you have done?
Actually, two very simple ones that were relatively cheap to implement when we went and looked at where we burn most of our energy, and it was on our clean rooms. So all our production, 100% of our production, is based inside a clean room, and a clean room is made up of clean air being pushed through a clean room at maybe 25 air changes an hour, and that's all tempered for the product in terms of humidity and temperature, and that's our number one energy user on site. We looked at that and actually looked at what we needed from a quality and product point of view, and needed from a people point of view. We actually realized we were pumping in probably 50 to 60% too much air into the clean rooms. And just by simply challenging the requirement, we were able to push that down to 15 air changes. And straight away, that gave us nearly a 30% saving on our energy, just by challenging the requirements. And the second one was actually using the environment in Ireland. So there's parts of the year where we have free cooling, where the outside air temperature is actually colder than what you need in the clean room. So rather than actually running it through a chiller like we were doing for years, we implemented economizers on all our air handlers. So we pulled in cold air from outside and pushed that through our clean rooms, through filters. But that actually turned our chillers off at nighttime. So we're using the cold air at nighttime to cool our environments. And that was another large energy saver for us. So and that was relatively free, just with a bit of controls. So we're very proud of those two as well.
Oh, look, you should be, and isn't it fantastic to do some of those things that make a big difference, saving energy, saving carbon emissions, and they cost nothing to implement it, just a bit of know-how, intelligence, and off you go.
Yeah.
No. In terms of you mentioned about the community, some of the local, the community work that BD do, and obviously this is part of your ESG, this is part of your social governance. What do you do in terms of in the local community?
So when we look at the community, we look at communities two different things. We look at community as inward community, our community within the four walls of the facility, and our external community. And that external community is Enniscorthy, it's Wexford, it's Ireland, that community. So the inward community is something we put a lot of effort into trying to build a culture. So growing from a company that was 90 odd in the late noughties to 480, 500 people this year, culture changes with that, and actually getting everybody on board and aligned in the same direction and pulling in the same direction can be quite difficult at times. So one of the things we put a lot of focus on is culture and our local environment. One of the things we're very, very proud of is we've 28 nationalities within the four walls of Enniscorthy. And we celebrate that. So like just last week, we had International Independence Day in Brazil. And we have a number of employees from Brazil working inside in Enniscorthy. And we would have celebrated that with them. And as we go through each...
Was there a Mardi Gras?
There was no Mardi Gras, no. But maybe next year,
Good.
But as we go through each one of the celebrations, we try to get people from their own countries to actually tell us a bit about their country and what their celebrations are like, so that it is a more inclusive environment. One of the other things we're proud of is our development program in house. So one of the things we measure is how many of our job fill rates, so how many of our jobs inside are filled internally through internal promotions. So we put a lot of effort into making sure our employees A, are aware of the opportunities, and B, are ready for the opportunities. So development programs. So 50% of all the jobs over the last number of years have come with internal promotions. So we're growing internally. So that we get this sense, and one of the things we keep talking about is how do we get ourselves known as a great place to work? Because if we're known as a great place to work in BD or within Enniscorthy or Wexford, things will happen. Products will come and people will come. And probably one of the other things that creates a good connection locally is our Charity of the Year award. So every year we ask our employees to pick a local charity. So last year we picked the Women's Refuge, Wexford Women's Refuge, and there was a team put together internally made up of volunteers, and they raised €24,000 for that charity. And we actually handed that check over just last week to them. And now we're in the process of picking a new charity for the next year, and we'll do the same again next year. So every year we have a new charity, and we fundraise for them for local initiatives. I mean, we want to make sure it's local as well, so that the money is going locally.
And tell me, with that, David, in terms of how hard has it been to get employee engagement, whether it's in sustainable projects, whether it's in community projects, whether it's in ensuring that it's looked upon as a family? Has it been difficult, or has there been really good buy-in from the like of the employees and just keeping them engaged?
Look, like everything, there's challenges, because we have day-to-day responsibilities in terms of getting product out the door as well. But we find that when you break it down and into small chunks, you get a lot more engagement. Make it simple and like, for example, we have a sustainability team on site which just formed out of the blue. Just operators started coming to me and asking me about, we should do this in recycling, we should do that in recycling, or here's an opportunity. And all of a sudden we had a team together, and next year they would run the Earth Week for us. And they would show people how to make bird boxes and maybe wildflower planting and some very simple initiatives that they could bring home with them. And then we were able to publicise that around BD. So it's looking at BD Enniscorthy Inc. in terms of our name, in terms of sustainability. But then when you look at the Charity of the Year, people had a passion in that, because most times when charities were nominated, it's because someone either benefited from services or saw someone maybe third hand who benefited from services. And from that, there was more of a passion in terms of actually raising money for them. So there was a link to it. So we find that the Charity of the Year thing just happens naturally. The events, like we had a team of 10 or 11 people who went and did hell and back this year and raised nearly €2,000 or €3,000 just from that. And there was an amazing passion on the floor. When you go down, you hear people who are fundraising, and there was a competition every week in terms of who would raise most and who would actually finish the race. And that all pays into the culture on site and the passion on it. And lastly, the other one is you actually play to people's strengths as well. So we have a junior achievers team on site, and a STEM team on site, and we focus on the local schools and going out to local schools and trying to spread our name in terms of maybe when these students actually leave and want to come back and work in Enniscorthy, they'll know about BD, they'll know about the products we make.
Right. Fantastic.
And we find
many students would you go through that?
So we would have, last year I think we had 10 or 12 employees going to probably 6 or 7 schools, and typically it would be their local schools. So we have some of the employees be in Wexford Town, some in Enniscorthy, some in Gorey, some in Borris and Carlow, where I'm from. So very, very diverse, but it's within the catchment area of where we typically see our employees coming from. So, and we get a lot of engagement from the associates. They get a big kick out of it. So going into junior infants and teaching them about economics, or going into first years and teaching them about our products, etc. So all that builds our what would I say, engagement on site.
Okay, well, look at David. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you very much for explaining all about BD. And genuinely, congratulations not only on the success of BD, but all the initiatives that you're taking to become a more sustainable and a great example, not only to other companies but to the community, to Enniscorthy, and taking that leading role. You certainly are a great example for other companies and other communities to follow. So thank you very much. Is there anything else, any other information you'd like to leave us with before we finish?
No. And look, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come in and spread the word about BD and Enniscorthy. Like we're a passionate site, and we see massive growth in the next couple of years within our site, and we just want people to be aware of what we're doing on site. And I really appreciate the time you've given me to speak about BD and Enniscorthy, and I wish you all the best of luck in your new adventures here as well. So
That's great.
it's great to chat to you.
Good on you. Thanks, David.
Thank you.